Hi guys, and many thanks for joining me. If you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of relating things. If you are new here, please don't forget to make sure you hit the big red subscribe button below and also hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. For my returning subscribers and viewers, I would like to thank you all so much for all the continuous support you are showing me and for all those lovely comments I always read from you. This is what keeps me and my channel going. Thank you so much. Today I want to talk to you about an unsolved case for 67 years. And this is Derek Saville's disappearance. Who would think that walking your girlfriend home after a date night out filled with laughter and drinks will lead to your own disappearance? You do the best you can to protect the one you love, and you never give it a second thought that you might be the one who is in danger. I do not mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in today's video. The video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information I collect is from the internet. I compile this information, make a video, and from this you guys are more than welcome to draw your own conclusions. Thank you. Derek Saville was a 25-year-old bus driver who was last seen kissing his 18-year-old girlfriend goodnight at her house in Cannon Pyon, Hertfordshire at about 11:30 p.m. on 7th of December 1954. Derek Saville lived in lodgings in Bushbank, less than a mile away from Cannon Pyon. Cannon Pyon was described as a very quiet village, with about 574 inhabitants at the time. Derek's girlfriend, who was a secretary with a firm in Hereford, said they have been going together for 3 or 4 months. Derek called her at about 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 7th of December 1954. They both had a drink at the village pub, where he was very popular as a member of the darts team, and walked back to her house. Derek was behaving normal, just as usual, chatting in the house with his girlfriend and her mother. He then left at 11:30 p.m. the same night. At the garden gate, Derek kissed his girlfriend goodnight. His last words to her were, "Good night, dear, see you tomorrow night." When Derek didn't arrive the next evening, his girlfriend believed he was called on for a different shift at work. She said, and I quote, "I am in a complete fog. If Derek lost his memory and was wandering, surely someone would have reported something about him by now. It doesn't look as though he has gone willingly. A few weeks ago he told me he was jumped on by someone who took a swipe at him and then ran away, as he was on his way home after seeing me." End of quote. Derek's girlfriend was very worried about Derek's disappearance. There were no issues between them. When she last saw him, he seemed his nice and quiet self. She also recalled Derek being attacked a few weeks earlier. And I quote again, "Derek was attacked in October of this year. He was going home after seeing me when he heard something rustling in the hedge. When he turned, he saw a man with his arm upraised. Derek dropped his cycle to defend himself, but the man jumped over the hedge and ran away." End of quote. Derek Saville's body was never found, although the police later carried out excavation work in 2007. A laundry bag that he was carrying at the time of his disappearance was never found. It was believed Derek might have been killed by a love rival or his girlfriend's jealous ex-boyfriend. There was speculation Derek Saville was threatened and intimidated by another man, possibly the jealous ex-boyfriend, on the day he disappeared. The man apparently threatened Derek and said he would get him. He could have been in some way involved in Derek's death. However, at the time of the investigation, the ex-boyfriend, who was seeing Derek Saville's girlfriend up until about 7 weeks before Derek Saville disappeared, denied all involvement in his disappearance. It was reported that him and Derek Saville were once considered rivals for Derek Saville's girlfriend's hand. People in Cannon Pyon suggested that jealousy over Derek Saville's relationship with his girlfriend had something to do with his disappearance. Derek Saville was described by the police as a bit of a ladies' man. Police said Derek's hair, good physique, neat clothes and happy-go-lucky attitude made him as attractive to girls as they were to him. and for that reason, some men who were less successful in having girlfriends might have disliked him. The police also believed it was possible Derek Saville was killed accidentally, either in connection with a love rival, the person that threatened him earlier in the day, or in some other way, and then disposed of. However, the police also said that the case was almost certainly one of murder. The ex-boyfriend of Derek's girlfriend said, and I quote, "I know the gossips are saying that I was jealous of Saville, but it is all nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, I broke off with her. There is no question at all of jealousy. I now have another girlfriend." End of quote. The man worked in a Hereford factory and lived in Tillington, the next village to Cannon Pyon. When he was asked about the mystery man that jumped out on Derek Saville and his girlfriend one night, the ex-boyfriend said, "The police saw me about it, but it was not me. I have a clear conscience on this whole matter. I saw Saville in Cannon Pyon on the night he vanished, but that was quite early in the evening. I was back home by 9 o'clock and stayed in listening to the radio. I never went out again that evening." He was also reported as saying, "I bet the village gossips are busy. I took another girl home from a village dance. Derek and I had a few words about it at time, and later the girl chose Derek Saville as her boyfriend. We returned each other's presents. I handed back the yellow pullover she gave me. She handed me back the locket I gave her. I haven't the faintest idea what has happened to Derek." The landlord of the Nag's Head public house in Cannon Pyon said he heard talk in the bar about a person who had been loitering in the village. He said, "I understand this man is hanging about late at night and hiding behind trees. I am told that on one occasion he jumped out on Saville." Derek Saville's landlady said last Tuesday was his day off. He left in the morning to visit his widowed mother at Dymock in Gloucestershire. He is a very pleasant and popular young man. He mentioned some weeks ago that he had words with a young man from a neighboring village. She said that when he didn't come home, she assumed he stayed overnight with his widowed mother, who lived in Preston in Ledbury, who Derek visited the same day. Apparently, after kissing his girlfriend goodnight, Derek Saville never returned home, and his landlady found the following day his bed not being slept in. Derek Saville's bicycle was found with a puncture near the bus garage where he worked. It was found propped up against the Cannon Pyon Parish Hall, a few hundred yards from the bus depot, where he apparently collected it to ride home from. At one point, it was believed he might have got a puncture and fallen off his bicycle and then wandered off while suffering from loss of memory, or having left it there to continue the rest of his journey home on foot. One of Derek Saville's colleagues from Hereford bus station said Derek was a very pleasant sort of chap. No one would want to harm him. Over 400 members of staff, including 2 divisions of police, soldiers and men with tracking dogs, were called out in the search for him amongst the nearby woods and scrubland around Cannon Pyon, but nothing was found. 2 police Alsatian dogs called Robbie and Bronx were used in the search. They had recently been used in the hunt for the body of a murdered Polish farmer in Carmarthenshire, and the police spokesman said, and I quote, "They could find a body or a man living rough in this wild countryside." End of quote. The search by the police dogs started in the garden of Derek Saville's girlfriend and went over to a disused well shaft, but soon turned away. The dogs were also taken through the village and amongst boulders around the nearby Devil's Cave. Every possibility was covered. All the houses in the neighborhood were visited by detectives who asked people about the man with a car that might have borne Derek Saville a grudge. Ditches and flood streams were also searched by special constables who were called in for their local knowledge. A watch was also being kept on flooded rivers and streams. The police also questioned the drivers of long-distance lorries who used the nearby transport center to see if anyone remembered giving anyone a lift on 7th of December 1954. On 22nd of December 1954, the police were looking for 2 stolen guns, which was believed could give a clue into Derek Saville's disappearance. The guns were reported missing from an outhouse at Holycroft in Tillington, where the ex-boyfriend lived. However, the guns disappeared a week after Derek Saville went missing, and the police said they thought the guns had been borrowed earlier and stolen later after their initial return. The police said, and I quote, "It is just possible that the guns are connected in some way with the Saville mystery. It is a line of inquiry we cannot ignore." End of quote. During the search along the lane that Derek Saville would have taken after leaving his girlfriend, the police found 2 suit buttons with shreds of dark material attached in a hedge about 200 yards from where Derek Saville was last seen, and sent them away for examination, but nothing more is known about the results. Shortly after he vanished, the police suspected foul play. After learning that Derek Saville had a bundle of clean laundry with him on 7th of December 1954, the police believed that if he collapsed and then just wandered off, it would have been reasonable to assume that his washing would just lay where it fell and would have been easily found. But nothing was found. The police couldn't explain why Derek Saville, with money saved, a good job, a girl he hoped to marry, and with many friends, completely vanished. During their investigation, the police took over 1,000 statements. Derek Saville's sister was told she needs to leave her home because of the publicity surrounding her. She and her husband had been living in 2 rooms at 12 Railway Place, but the landlady, a 70-year-old woman, told them they had to leave, saying, "It is because of my health. I can't stand all this publicity." On 21st of December 1954, 5 of Derek Saville's former girlfriends came forward to tell the police all they could of Derek's habits under a pledge of secrecy, including his likes and dislikes, his private life, and his secret hopes and fears. However, none of them could answer the vital question of who the man in the motorcar was, the same with a grudge against Derek and the same one threatening to get him. Each of the girls described Derek Saville as a perfect gentleman. The detective inspector that was in charge of the inquiry said they all said he was a charming companion and one they were happy to go out with. On 22nd of January 1955, bloodstains found on the floor covering of a car by the police were not human but animal blood. The car owner, undisclosed by the police, a man, lived in Cannon Pine. An atmosphere of mystery and anxiety was heightened, following the story of a 17-year-old girl who knew Derek Saville's girlfriend and who stumbled into her home and told of a shape which she said leaped out at her as she was cycling alone in the dark. The shape landed in the road with a thud and she was too frightened to look round, and so she pedaled as fast as she could in a terrible state of distress to her friend's house. It was further reported that other villagers were also recalling other stories of a man leaping out at people on the road at night, and people were asking whether the shape that the 17-year-old girl saw could have had any connection with the disappearance of Derek Saville. The excavation work that was carried out in 2007 was done after a man who was 7 years old at the time of the murder came forward to say he remembered seeing his father and 5 men digging a hole in a field which he described as being a makeshift grave at the time of Derek Saville's disappearance. Following the man's fresh evidence, the police carried out excavation work, saying, "What we are working with now is credible and tested evidence that suggests a site where Derek Saville's body may be. The dig is being done on the strength of that." The fresh witness had, at the time, in 2007, been living in Perth, Australia, and approached the police while he was on holiday in the United Kingdom. The police later went out to Perth to interview him. The operation to carry out the digging following the man's fresh evidence was called Operation Panda. The police also drafted in the help of police officers that worked on the case 53 years earlier in 1954. The police said no case files survive from the 1950s, but members of the Operation Panda inquiry have been able to talk to 3 surviving Hertfordshire constabulary detectives who were key to the original investigation. It is important that we examine any new evidence that could lead to the location of his body, as well as continuing to determine if there is any new evidence which could provide answers about how and why he disappeared. After a full investigation into the man's evidence, the police said they were certain of where Derek Saville's body would be. The site in Cannon Pinon hadn't been disturbed since the 1950s when pipes were laid. Although the fresh witness' father died earlier in 2007, there were a few other suspects, and if the dig revealed the body, then the evidence would be passed on to the Crown Prosecution Service to see whether any charges should be made. The site was examined prior to the dig, which was then carried out by search specialists, geographic profilers, and forensic archaeologists. However, they did not find Derek Saville's body. The piece of land they examined was about 20 miles square, and they dug down to a depth of 6 feet. 67 years later, Derek Saville's body is still not found, and no one knows what happened to him, apart from his killer or killers if they are still alive. I have a couple of issues here. Okay, so I have a couple of issues here. Is it really known with 100% certainty that Derek ever left his girlfriend's house? I am not pointing fingers here or accusing anyone, but was there any witness to say they saw Derek apart from the girlfriend and her mom? The girlfriend mentioned in her report that she's been together with Derek for 4 months. Another police report says she had been with her ex-boyfriend a few weeks before seeing Derek. So, you know, which one is it? Was she seeing them both at the same time? Also, if indeed that was the case, is it not possible that perhaps the ex-boyfriend was somehow involved in Derek's disappearance? Jealousy, rage, competition, you know, winner and loser story? Or did Derek just fell off his bike, got a concussion, lost his memory, wandered off and died as a result of injury or confusion? But that doesn't explain why his body was never found. It seems in a way that his body was not found because it was hidden somewhere. I guess, honestly, we'll never know unless the police finds more. But please do let me know in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think might have happened? In the comments below, please. It is a very sad story, and unfortunately the family and friends cannot get closure because it's still not known what happened to the nice and quiet man. There is still a case file open for Derek Saville. It doesn't seem the case is closed. Derek Saville is classified and still is classified as endangered missing. I would ask if you do have any information which can lead to finding him or what happened to him, please call West Mercia Police Detective Inspector David Llewellyn. And the phone number for that is 0845 744 4888. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and please again let me know in the comments below what do you think might have happened to Derek Saville. Thank you so much for watching again. Stay safe and take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.